And so let us now, with thanks for their contributions, remember them.
Emperor Tattoo Jim, Empress Connie, Emperor Rich Carl, Emperor Ken Wright, Empress Sissy Space Out, Empress Sable Clown, Emperor Patrick McGonagall. In 1859, on September the 17th, Joshua appeared arrayed in royal regalia. He proclaimed himself Emperor of the United States, and a little later, Protector of Mexico also. For the next 21 years, Emperor Norton's palace was a room in the Eureka lodging house.
4 decades ago, Jose received an astounding divine revelation. She was the widow of Emperor Joshua Norton. Empress Jose, the widow Norton, began holding a commemorative observance here at Joshua's graveside 31 years ago. Eventually, she led the imperial community to erect the splendid gravestone over Joshua's grave. And several years ago, Jose's loyal subjects erected a stone for her too, beside Joshua's. Some thought that she would be living there by now.
So who was Emperor Norton? Joshua Abraham Norton was born in Telford, England on January 17, 1811 to John and Sarah Norton. And at the age of 30, after the death of his parents, he came to San Francisco, lured by the dreams of fortunes to be made during the gold rush. He arrived with a large sum of $40,000 to set up shop. But things changed while trying to corner the market on rice. He lost it all. Joshua Norton vanished from public view for 3 years until September 17, 1859, in which he walked into the office at the San Francisco Bulletin and placed a piece of paper in front of the editor, George Fitch. The next morning, Fitch ran a headline, "Have we an emperor among us?" and printed the following proclamation.
At the peremptory request of the large majority of the citizens of these United States, I, Joshua Norton, formerly of Algoa Bay, Cape of Good Hope, and now for the past 9 years and 10 months of San Francisco, California, declare and proclaim myself Emperor of these United States.
For the next 20 years, he continued to issue proclamations defending minorities and championing civil rights. Emperor Norton especially printed his own paper money called Imperial Treasury Bond Certificates. And shops would have signs in their window by appointment to His Imperial Majesty. Even visiting dignitaries made a point of requesting an audience with the Emperor. At California and Grant, right here in front of Old St. Mary's Church, around 8:15 p.m. on January 7, 1880, at the estimated age of 65, the reign of Norton I, Emperor of the United States and Protector of Mexico, expired with his final breath. He had become one of the personalities defining the character of San Francisco.
Now, if you're any good at math, you're probably wondering if Joshua died in 1880, which was 126 years ago, how could his widow, Jose, be only 83 years old today? The truth is, and I hope, dearest Empress, you will forgive me, because like George Washington, I cannot tell a lie. The truth is, Jose is not really 83. She's really 151.
Okay, play something snappy to put me in the mood. Sounds like the Salvation Army. But thank you for coming, Gene. Dottie. Is it Dottie? No.
And that's your tea up there.
Lord, isn't that something terrible? And I want to thank You know, TJ or PJ or AY, I've never been able to get it. And then there's BB. Dee Dee. Yeah. She worked very hard here in the city. Her loss was very bad. Her Sweet William was one of my sponsors here. And when he decided to leave, life does go on. So little Dee Dee packed her juice bag and swam over to the islands where she's residing now. Good luck, Dee Dee. And now I plan to do a number. Yes. And I didn't learn the words. Lord. I've rehearsed already. When I was young and simple, I don't recall the date, I met a handsome captain of the guard. He visited my chambers one evening very late, in tandem with a husky Saint Bernard. At first, I was astonished, and tears came to my eyes. Later, when I asked him to resume, never. Oh, shit. Hit it. 5'2", eyes of blue. It's a shame she doesn't. Has anybody seen my gal? Big black nose, big black hose, never wears too many clothes. Has anybody seen my gal? And if you run into a 5'2", covered with fur, better look twice, you better look twice, girls, so that bitch may not be a her. 5'2", it's a shame she doesn't screw. Has anybody seen my gal? I don't mean maybe. Has anybody seen my gal?
The incredible Jose the Widow Norton.
Widow wears her weeds now and does her dirty deeds now. We follow where she leads now. The Norton family. Neat. Sweet. That's right, yeah. Petite. They're absolutely kitschy. Sometimes they'll make you itchy. They're never ever bitchy. The Norton family. Oh yeah. Excellent snapping. Best snapping I've ever seen. So look in this direction with reverence and affection to Joshua's last erection. The Norton family.
I'm not coming yet. So don't get too excited.
Here we go. Thank you.
My son Kramer, Hector, his mother from back east, Larry Epinette, and the chauffeur. We went out in a limousine. Went up to the grave, dusted it off, and put the flowers there. Took some pictures. Got in the limousine and was driving back out. And we were stopped by the office, Woodland Cemetery. They said, where have you been? We said, we went up to Emperor Norton's grave and dusted off, put some flowers there. They said, who are you? Kramer says, I'm Emperor of San Francisco. And the other one said, I'm also an Emperor of San Francisco. After Norton. She says, I'm Mrs. Navarro, the mother of the son.
looked at me, he says, and who are you? I had widow's weeds on. I said, I'm the widow, Norton. He says, would you like to please all of you step into the office? And he bawled us out for not, he says, nobody comes up here. And bawled me out, why didn't I contact them that I was coming? I said, well, I didn't know how you would take it. And he says, well, no, you let us know. We'll dust off the grave, put the flags up. We're good. And from that day on, that's what they do.
Oh, Jose called me on New Year's Day, and we were just chatting, and he had not been feeling well for quite some time, had a lot of trouble breathing. And so he said, well, I said, how are you doing? He said, oh, I'm much better. I said, what happened? He said, well, they put me in the hospital for 2 weeks. He said, I went in, I couldn't breathe, things were awful. They put me in the hospital, did a whole bunch of tests, and after a couple of days, they came in and they said to me, well, we think you have emphysema, or something else. Anyway, he didn't know what, but possibly emphysema. And they said, you're going to have to use oxygen for the rest of your life. You're going to have to carry around one of these oxygen tanks. And he said, and I told them, please, Mary, I have enough trouble carrying around a purse every day. I'll be damned if I'm going to be wheeling around an oxygen tank with me for the rest of my life. And so he said, I told them that, and I told them there was no way I was going to have oxygen. And they said, but you know, you'll die. And he said, if I die, fine. Put me in the pine box, fold my arms over my chest. I've had a good long life. I'm not carrying any oxygen tank around with me. And he said, so they went back and conferred, and they did more and more tests and came back to me, he said 3 or 4 days later, and said, well, now it doesn't look like you have emphysema. And he said, they started me on this medication, he said, and everything's gone away, and I'm just as fine as can be. So that was my New Year's story.
Jose Julio Sarria was born in San Francisco on December 12, 1923. His mother, Maria Dolores, came from Colombia.
She was a ward of this country because she left her country during the revolution and was placed in the care of the American consulate in Colombia. She met my father on the boat traveling from Guatemala to San Francisco. There was a little bit of both side romance, and then he found her here. The boat sunk, and I was conceived. From the age of not quite 4 months, I was given to Cesarina, and she raised me. I lived all my life with my godmother. She was later my godmother. I never considered myself different. I wore Buster Brown outfits, short pants, the long stockings. My shoes were special made with little heels. If that isn't the making of a gay person, I don't know. I went to school to learn to dance, sing, and I did ballet, I did tap dancing, because that was what upper class families had their thing. So I was very, very wild, but I considered myself normal. And I still consider myself normal. Well, then as I grew up, I realized that there was a little bit more to being normal. There was an entertainer here in town, and he gave 4 o'clock tea parties. The very rich men would come and they would have a tea party. But they would take you out to lunch, maybe buy you things. One day I'd go to the St. Francis, and I was a nephew. The next day I go back and I was a godson. You know, the maitre d' knows what the fuck was going on. These were wealthy men that liked little boys. And I never gave myself to them. Because I always feel that once you do that, you're old meat, you know. Keep them wanting. Well, in this crowd, now this is the first time I ever told you this, in this crowd, I met a man who was in the military, who later became the recruiting officer for the Sarria. He always wanted favors from me, and I always managed to not, 1941, the war is declared. I'm in beginning college. I'm in San Jose State. And then you had to get in the military. Or you were 4F, or you had, what was wrong with you? So I decided, oh, no. So your mother goes to San Jose State. I thought, well, I'll be in the Navy. That's 13 buttons. I'm already used to unbuttoning them, So I went in, and to go into reserves, because you must remember I was 17. You had to take chemistry, physics, algebra. I said, not for me, Louise, that's too much. So then I went in and I said, I'll be a Marine with the pretty outfits. That's nice. They saw me coming in. He says, to be a Marine, you have to weigh 145 pounds and be at least 5 foot tall. I weighed less than, I was just 90 pounds, girl's body, and I was under a little over 4 feet. He says, I don't think you'll make it. I said, oh, Mary. So then I went into the Army. We don't care as long as you are breathing. I said, this is for me. So I had to go up to San Francisco to enlist. So in I go. And in line with all these guys, I was just 17 years old, and I really had a girl's body. I was small, cute ass. Peter was okay, and who should come out of the office but the major, my friend of the tea parties. I says, do you think you could help me? He says, yes. I says, if I could see you, you could have what you want. But you have to get me in the service. Today I must be in the service. He says, okay, I'm staying at the St. Francis. You can have lunch there with me. So I went up to his room and had lunch. And I came back, he slapped me on the ass and he says, you're in the service. So I never was in a closet. I never pretended to be what I'm not. In Europe, I had a swagger stick, I had tailor-made shoes. Your mother, she was the gayest soldier in town. Now, while I was in Berlin, I had a lover. He was a set designer for the Städtische Opera, and I met all the big stars. Max Reinhardt used to call me the Black Devil, the Schwarze Teufel. I told Andre I was going to stay, and we were going to be forever and ever. And he said, no, you have to go back to America. He knew he had cancer. He died 3 years later.
The Black Cat Cafe was located here at 710 Montgomery Street from 1933 to 1963. It was considered to be a bohemian club with a clientele of both straight and gay. Writers, artists, and musicians regularly visited the Cat. Hassel Smith, Maynard Dixon, Ed Corbett, and John Steinbeck, and so many others that made their way to this internationally famous landmark. When it closed in 1963, the Black Cat had become a gay establishment, and it broke the barriers that prevented overtly gay bars from existing freely.
At first I was a cocktail waiter. That didn't last very long because I can't remember drinks and that was a lot of bullshit. So then I would hostess, It was not gay as we know gay bars today. And the women smoked in public, they didn't wear bras. If you wanted to just get up and recite poetry, you could do that. They had a hamburger that they served. The drinks were 35 cents, 50 cents for a cold drink, 25 cents for beer. I mean, it was just a nice place. We had sawdust on the floor. We had a cat that caught the mice. That was Princess. Hazel Maud McGinnis, a graduate of Juilliard School of Music, gave a concert for Mrs. Roosevelt at the White House, played in the National Band, and he was fantastic. You name it, he'd play it. Pianists don't like singers. In those days, you played the piano, you shut up and you listened. But he liked me. He called me Princess. He'd say, sing a song, Princess, and I'll play it for you. Anybody else want to sing a song? He'd play it off key, play it wrong key. He would do everything. Well, one evening, I did a synopsis. I did Carmen, singing all the main arias, making up words in 15 minutes. And the owner of the cat saw this. Everybody was just hysterical. Oh, I danced and I pranced and I carried on and I sang and I didn't have castanets at that time. I took 2 pots and banged them together for the castanets. And I did Carmen. And the Sal said, you know, how about you doing an opera in the afternoons after brunch when there's a lot, and we can keep the people here for maybe an hour more. And McGinnis said, fine. So he would write the opera using the real music, but making the words gay. Hero was a fairy, and the heroine was a lesbian, and she got knocked up, you know, that type of thing. But the music was always the true, and it was done in Esperanto. I would sing these words. It didn't make sense, but if you listened, it sounded like I was singing in Italian or foreign language. Now, there are some arias, I sang them legitimately, and I read the script, and I told the story. At that time, the Black Cat, the customers didn't know anything about opera. I was educated. And soon I got a reputation for Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock. They all would come to see the opera. And we would advertise it in the Personal because the Hearst papers would not publish what I did.
I came to San Francisco in 1957 in the United States Military Air Force, stationed in Pleasanton, California, and they brought me to San Francisco for the first time and took me to the Black Cat. I'm from Blacksburg, Virginia. I had never been in a gay bar, knew nothing about it, except that I knew I was gay, you know, but I'd never done anything about it. And here I walked in, and this little guy with black slacks and a white shirt, earrings and high heels serving brunch. I'd never seen anything like that in my life. Oh my God, what is this? Then they said, you've seen nothing yet. Wait till the opera comes. So we all sat down and everybody gathered around and seemed to know one another. It was a great group of people. And Jose comes out on the stage with the piano player and did an opera. It was fabulous. After it was over, then he stood up and he told us all the things that we should know. Because in those days, we were very scared of being gay, you know. And he would say, stick together, you know, and we'll make it. Divided, they're going to get us one by one. Then we all had to stand up and sing God Save Us, Nellie Queens. That was the finale. But then he came over. He liked to pick someone out of the crowd that looked like they had not been there before and quite innocent, and I was the chosen one for that day. He came and sat on my lap and sang, row, row, row your boat. I thought I would die. Everybody's looking at me. And I shouldn't have been there to start with because I was in the military and it was off limits. But we met then and we have been friends ever since. He's my dearest friend. And I think he did so much for people like me at that age to accept myself and accept the fact that there are other gay people in the world and we all seem to love one another. And I love him with all my heart.
In 1960, a church group came into the Cat and asked Jose if they could record his act and sell it as an LP to raise money. Jose was a bit surprised, but said, what the heck?
To the men in the house, entitled, A Good Man is Hard to Find. A good man the Nelly kind. And when you think that you got a He-Man, you find him drawing pictures on the walls of the woman's can. Then you hope and then you pray the little monkey be in his grave. Now listen, girls, you take my advice. You kiss him in the morning, you hug him every noon. Till I think with Alum, girls, don't give him a lot of room. 'Cause a good man nowadays is hard to find. I said a good man is hard to find. You usually wind up with the Nelly, Los Angeles kind. And when you think that you've got a real He-Man, everybody had him last night at the YMCA can.
Dealing with the police was a constant issue. In the course of a week, there would be 200 to 300 people arrested for lewd and lascivious conduct, a $50 fine, 6 months suspended sentence, and $300 to $400 to an attorney. Jose realized that it was a racket and came up with a plan and instructed the gay people on what to do.
You get arrested. Number one, you plead not guilty. You want a trial by jury, which you are entitled to, and you swallow the evidence. We jammed the courts. You were arrested in January. You weren't heard until June or July, August, maybe, because there were misdemeanors. Finally, the judge said, "If you don't have a good case, I'm just throwing it out. Better tell him, Jose, that we're going to start raiding the parks. We're going to start raiding the toilets. The Emporium, J.C. Penney's, Hale Brothers, they're getting too noisy. They're getting too wild." And I'd get up and I'd lecture to them. We got to stay out of the Hale Brothers store. They're infected with a blue germ with stars on this thing, you know. And if you came in and I thought you were undercover, I would ask you, and you have to answer me because that's the law. And if you said, yes, I am a police officer, or yes, I am a vice squad, then I'd tell the piano player, I said, we have special company play a nice song for him. And they play the Marseillaise. Sometimes we play the national anthem. Everybody would stand up. And he was ruined because he couldn't come in and do his nasty work. And I got a name. They hated me. We took some of the laws all the way up to the Supreme Court. One prize one was that the ABC was going to say the bartender can refuse to serve a homosexual. So I announced, I said, we need to go to court on Thursday, and you have to have a nice man's haircut, shaved, white shirts. You can go to Goodwill and buy one if you need it, with a jacket, or just, it's a nice day now. You just go there, nice pants. And I says, and if you're sitting next to a Nelly Queen, you have her sit on her hands so that she doesn't wave them around. And all of you just sit there and be very nice and quiet. It's very important. So Morris got there before the judge and he said, Your Honor, we have been debating this for 1 week now. And we could debate it for another week. It costs a lot of money. And I'm sure you have other cases and I have other cases. I'm going to put you to the test. You pretend you're the bartender. And out here are your customers. You pick out the ones who you say are homosexuals and you would serve, and the ones that you would serve. And the judge looked out, all looked like, he says, well, you all look like a bunch of college kids, college boys, all nice and clean. He says, I can't say which one is a homosexual or gay. And Morris says, that's exactly what I'm saying. How can you say that a bartender can say who's gay and who isn't, who he's going to serve. I see your point. Case dismissed, you've won. Right after he said that, they jumped up, and the Queens, thank you, Your Honor. Mary, they fell apart. Halloween, 1 minute after midnight, they could arrest you because the law says you're not supposed to dress like a woman. But I read the law, and I read the law. I went to Mevin Belli and I said, Mevin, the law reads to dress as in the opposite sex with the intent to deceive. If I put a sign that says I am a boy or I am a girl, he says, I never thought of it that way. He says, no, you're not deceiving because you're telling them. If they don't want to believe you, that's their problem. And if you do that and someone is arrested, I'll defend them. Nobody got arrested. And that was the last time, 1 minute after Halloween, they ever arrested anybody for being in costume. But music has always been something to unite people. And I did the same thing. After my shows, we would sing God Save the Nelly Queens to America. And the Black Cat was on Montgomery Street at the intersection of Columbus. And the back of the police station at that time, Kearny Street, faced the Black Cat. And the police officer on duty would raise the windows, and those that were arrested on the weekend, they were going to go to court on Monday, he would raise the window and say, all right, your leader's going to sing to you. And they would all come to the windows and lean out. And we would go to the front of the cat and wave to them. And we would sing God Save the Nelly Queens to give them courage as they went to court. And but that at the end of my shows, always we would sing that. And I'd make everybody stand up. And for one moment in your life, recognize who you are and be proud of it. And so they would sing God Save the Nelly Queens. And then I had to count the lesbians too, add lesbians too.
This is Harvey Milk Plaza, located in the heart of the Castro district. Milk was elected to the Board of Supervisors in 1977, the first openly gay elected official of any large city in the United States. But what many people don't know is that on November 7th, 1961, Jose Sarria ran for supervisor in the city and county of San Francisco. He was to be the first openly gay man ever to run for public office in the United States. Jose helped pave the way for the Harvey Milks of the world.
9 people were running, 5 offices was open. They didn't worry about it until about 7 hours before the filing was closed, and they thought, oh my God, she may win. There may be 10,000 voting queens. So they went out and got 33 people to run. From 9 people to 33 people ran that year in 1961. That lowered my chances. I came out 9th in a field of 33. I could have won, I would have died. But I proved, I didn't want to win, but I proved a point. As a gay, open gay person, I had the right to run for office. I was honored at the convention of openly gay politicians in the United States. There were 250 at that time, or 235, and I was honored for being the first in back east. Gay people were actually snowed. They were brainwashed. They didn't know what rights they had. They were brainwashed to the fact that they believed themselves to be second-rate citizens. Even today, I'm not a second-rate citizen. Don't you ever think I am, because I am not. I'm as good as the next joker on the street. The do-gooders, the born-again Christians, somehow can always bring in the religion. That has nothing to do with it. A law is made, and they don't say, this law is made for such and such, but if you're a homosexual, it doesn't count. So I started to preach that gay is good. Don't be ashamed. Be proud of what you are, and be good.
In 1963, the ABC took away the Black Cat's liquor license. Soon after, due to the continued police pressure, the owner of the Black Cat, Sol Stuman, closed the bar. Within a week, police had closed 5 other gay bars, and by 1964, only 18 of the city's 30 gay and lesbian bars remained.
The community was scattered. And of course, where there's a dollar to be made, you'll find a queen ready to try to make it. And there was, I think there was about 15 ad hoc committees claiming to be the leader of the gay community. I was the leader of the gay community at the Black Cat. I was the leader. I mean, everybody looked towards me. You just didn't, I had 4 o'clock tied up. I was the person that led the parades, and I was the leader. So when I came back and I saw these queens going to take my job, they're going to be the leaders, why I thought, oh, over my dead body. I've spent all my life being who I am, and you're going to come in and push me away? No. So, the Tavern Guild, which I was a part of, decided to honor me in 64. I was in New York, and they were going to honor me for all the work I had done prior to this as the Queen of the Ball, their first Halloween ball. Well, I've always been a queen, so I decided I'd make myself an empress after Emperor Norton. I went to the English and to the French consulate and told them what I intended to do, and they said it was wild. There is no law that says that I could not walk around the streets of San Francisco dressed as a woman, in costume. They couldn't arrest me. They just say I was eccentric, that's all. 400 to 500 people gathered to discuss that problem here in San Francisco. The first time I listened to the fucking debates and I figured it out, and I sent my little gopher up there and I said, you tell them that Her Majesty wishes to talk to me. And I laid it out. I says, I'm going to tell you something. If I want to walk around town as a woman, none of you can say a damn thing about it. I says, but I need your support. And I'm not doing anything to hurt you, the community. You hurt yourselves by getting caught in the toilets and in the parks. I go there too, but I have a little more sense to get caught. You're the ones. You fight. You can't unite to elect anybody. You're your worst enemy. Now I'm going to be here. And I says, and if you think I'm going to just let some idiot take over my job after I've done all the work? No. So I'm asking for your help. If you give it to me, fine. If you don't, that's fine also. But I know now what you would say. You don't want me to dress in a woman's clothes? Fine. You want me to have a council because I'm too headstrong? Fine, I'll have a council. Doesn't mean I have to do what they say. It'll be a yearly job. Every year we elect somebody. And it'll be by popular vote. You campaign and you will be elected. But you will address me as Her Majesty.
We've been friends many, many years. I'm president of the International Court Council, which is like the Gay and Lesbian Shriners. And we have chapters in 67 cities in Canada, the United States, and Mexico. And I preside over that council, which Jose, of course, is the the grand poobah of. She named her heir apparent, so when she passes away, which we hope will be a long time, then I will succeed her as overseeing the international court system, which is a great honor for me.
When the AIDS epidemic hit, Jose stepped up to the plate to do whatever he could to do to help. One instance was for the AIDS benefit Men Behind Bars in 1990. He did a musical number from Maine with his old friend, Mike Michelle Gary.
You know, I've been meaning to tell you for years, you should keep your hair natural like mine.
If I kept my hair natural like yours, I'd be bald. But, darling, we'll always be dear companions.
My crony, my mate,
We'll always be harmonizing.
Not bad,
we got it, honey. Off with Annie and Sandy.
be like Amos and Andy.
If I say that your style and grace is as far off as your youth, it's simply that. Who else but a bosom buddy? And tell you the whole stinking truth.
Each time that a critic has written, your voice is the voice of a frog, and your career has suddenly hit a snag. You know I'm always there when the world has an unkind remark. When they say Michelle's the world's tackiest rag. It hurts me.
And if I say your fangs are showing, Jose, pull in your claws. It's simply that. Who else but a bosom buddy? It noticed those obvious flaws.
I think it's my duty to tell you, it's time that you adjust to your age. You try to be peg in my heart when you're Lady Macbeth. Exactly. How old are you, Michelle? The truth.
How old do you think?
Oh, I'd say somewhere between 40 and death.
But, sweetie, I'll always be Alice Toklas if you'll be Gertrude Stein. And though I admit I've dished you, I've gossiped and gloated, but I'm so devoted.
And if I say that sex and guts made you into a star, it's simply that. Who else but a bosom buddy will tell you how rotten you are?
Just turn to your bosom buddy for aid and affection, for help and direction, for loyalty, love, and forsooth. Remember that. Who else but a bosom buddy will sit down and laugh?
Woo! Give you the devil will sit down and tell you the truth.
The court system that Jose started in 1965 has now flourished into a large international organization, creating a place where people can come together and have a community with a shared structure, policies, and goals, and at the same time have some fun. They elect an emperor and empress, a prince and princess, duke and duchess, and so forth, and continue to have yearly open elections in each of these communities. The organization contributes tens of thousands of dollars to local community services, as well as to national and international causes. And a person's gender, sexuality, race, lifestyle has no bearing on being a member of the court family. This is the San Francisco International Court coronation on February 25th, 2006. This is its 40th anniversary.
I'm having a great time. You know, people come from 60 cities across the United States, Mexico, and Canada to the Mother Court. Here's where it all started. Jose started it 40 years ago, and it's still going strong, as you can see.
When I first met Jose, I was kind of a greenhorn in the court system. I happened to be at a coronation, and he was there. We sat and talked, and now we're neighbors, and we see each other almost every day, and we've become very good friends. I don't know, all of a sudden he says, I want you as my lady in waiting, so here I am.
But I've known Jose through all these years, but I really got to know him in the last 10 years since I've been on the International Council, which is the, I guess what you'd say, the governing body of the court system. And so I'm on that as one of her council members. So I really got a chance to know her. And then, of course, the last few years, since my friend is now her lady in waiting, we travel a lot and we visit a lot, so I see much more of her. I got to know her much more as a person and not just an icon or a legend. So that's been wonderful.
And to celebrate her 40th anniversary, please welcome Her Imperial Majesty, Absolute Empress I de San Francisco, the founder of the International Court System, the Grand Mayor, the widow of Norton, Jose.
Some of these days, you're gonna miss your widow. Some of these days, you're gonna miss me. You'll miss my kisses. You'll miss my touch. You'll miss me, honey, when I'm away. And don't feel lonely without me only. For you know, baby, oh, you'll have your way. And leave me, and you know you're gonna be. You're gonna be your little old widow some of these days. Some of these days, you're gonna miss me, honey.
This is the Castro District in beautiful San Francisco. It has been called the gay center of the universe, and I believe that this and places like it exists because of courageous people like Jose Sarria, a man who was and is a great inspiration for the entire GLBT community, and definitely an inspiration to me.
around the world and in the news today, Jose Sarria to receive greatest honor. Street renamed a Jose Sarria Court. Many local dignitaries are on hand for this momentous occasion, including Bevan Dufty, city supervisor who was the man who initiated this renaming. Thank you, Bevan Dufty.
Street in San Francisco for a gay man and for a wonderful, heroic leader, Jose Sarria, who is the first openly gay person anywhere in America to run for public office, the founder of the Imperial Court, the legendary Nightingale of Montgomery Street, who ran the Black Cat and really in the 50s and 60s kept queer life alive in San Francisco.
And it's often said in a little movie called The Wizard of Oz, a man is not judged by how he's loved, but by how much he is loved. And I salute you, Jose. You're a piece of our history, and probably you're a very good piece of ass, too. Thank you!
Jose, 100 years from now, because of Senator Sheila Kuehl's pending legislation, children will read about you in our state's schools' history books. It is now my deep honor to present to you a true pioneer, a hero, and leader of our gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender movement. Hear me well. The gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender movement's very own Rosa Parks. Because just like Rosa Parks, Jose in the 60s refused to be treated like a second-class citizen. I am thrilled to be here today to witness and receive the most prestigious honor of having a street named after me. As you know, most streets naming occur for the dearly departed. And you have no idea how glad I have to say that I am not part of that group. To be very honest with everyone, I never realized how I have affected so many people. Gay, straight, transsexual, what's the other word? Transgender, straights, bisexuals. Because I was just me. What labels they pinned on you were not important to me.
Hello, hello everybody. I'm glad to see you all here to sing and dance and entertain you and bring you lots of cheer. For all of us are a dandy, on that of course you can rely. So hello, hello everybody. We are welcome you, the Black Cat welcomes you. We are glad that you're here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and once again, I welcome you on behalf of the working staff of the Black Cat, the most famous bohemian bar in the world. It's always rather exciting to see the various people that do come down to the Black Cat, because you find wolves in sheep's clothing.